Okay, good morning for all the speakers, VIP, and the audience. Today will be our BMAEX Seminars 2018, and we are so honored to invite Mr. Rashid Saleh, Mr. Andy Tay, Mr. Johan Julian, and our head speaker, Mr. Stanley. So for this seminar, we will cover all the sports topics, and without further ado, I pass on to my head speaker, Mr. Stanley. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Welcome today. This is our second BMAEX, and it's supposed to be the progression to moving on to greater heights. And what we're actually planning to do here is to create a revolution. And with me are my fellow colleagues who are very renowned in their own fields. And probably, they're looking for them. But nevertheless, they're all here, alive and kicking. And God willing, we'll be able to impart the knowledge that the little knowledge that we have gathered over the years, to see that we can actually do something great on this platform of martial arts. My name is Stanley, and I've been involved in sports for the last 35 years, maybe more. These are more on the administration, and prior to that, yes, I was an athlete and stuff. Most of us were. That's why we still love sports, and we are all here. And we have been around sports both in Malaysia and outside. So, I mean, it's nothing much about us. It's more about what we can contribute. So, God willing, this presentation, as I'm going to kickstart, would be something quite unique for all of us. And if I may, let me start with my slide. This is actually a slide which actually denotes the Olympism, because I represent the Olympics indirectly. And Olympics in its essence...
We are ready for round number 1.
In its pure essence, it has got to do with multi-sports. And if you look at it, you see, it's the Olympic movement that espouses the Pando effect. I'm sure you all have never heard the word Pando. Pando or Pando is actually, we derived this from the Latin word spread out. Now, sports actually started from a root, akar, as they say in Bahasa. But today, the Olympics, in just slightly more than 150 years, have actually expanded to such an extent that the tree that was planted has gone round the world. The only element in today's world where enemies of countries can sit together besides the United Nations is the Olympics. And Olympics, they are the pure essence of sports. Now, out of this comes the topic that we're going to be talking today, and that will be on martial arts. I want to share something with you all. My topic today is evolving sports in the 21st century. Why the 21st century? Because we are now living in the 21st century. We are moving towards that. In fact, open eyes, closed eyes, we have almost 2 decades. Almost 20 years have passed right in front of our eyes. It's not before our eyes, it's in front of our eyes. And we are living proof of the time change and the expansion of life. Life, as we know, has got to do with how we live, how we interact, and what do we do with our lives, with our fellow men. The world has become smaller, thanks to technology, But life in its essence, in its primal essence, is still the same. Human beings evolve. This topic today is going to be touching on specifically contact sports. Before we go forward, let's look backwards. Now, the history of sports may extend as far back to 15,000 years, because we have recorded history, especially in the caves in France, where they found cave drawings of two people or two entities grappling with each other. At first they thought it was fight, but it was, yes, fight, but it was more a constructive event. And the researchers managed to actually detect that it had to do with sports. So contact sports, in its essence, is a very primal behavior of the humankind. We have been doing and we have been playing sports since time immemorial. When humans started thinking, sports was already there in some form. So contact sports is not a new thing. It has always been there, growing with us in different eras. That's the beauty of what we are doing. As with the time of military training instead, these sporting competitions were then used as a means to determining whether individuals were fit and useful for service team sports. Initially it was sports, but then they realized you could expand it further to even the military of their times, and in active service as royal court protectors. That's where you got this Kung Fu, the Shaolin, the Kalaripayat in India, in Egypt, ancient Sumeria, Mesoamerica. Every civilizations had this, because they started seeing the potential that if you are good and if you are fit, you can be my bodyguard. You can be in the army, because your job is to protect us. So contact sports had that power. It was harnessed. It was harnessed to such an extent that it became a power tool. Even today, you look at a military person, the special operations, their skill comes first from contact sports. It's how you can fight and defend yourself. Because if you can't defend yourself, how are you going to defend the people who you've been entrusted to defend? Till today, all military personnel definitely will have a background in self-defense. That's what we're talking about. Now, what is this contact sports? If you look at its pure essence again, it boils down to three categories, three entities. It's either ritualistic, berunsur agama, warfare, perang, and bila mereka tak berperang, it becomes an entertainment. So these are the three categories that you will always find. You'll find all these various categories where people are involved in it. That's life which started time immemorial. The study of history of sport can teach lessons about social changes and about the nature of sport itself, as sport seems involved in the development of basic human life. In other words, it's compare play. It sounds, what's compare play? I'll talk to you more about it in a short while. Again, as one delves further back in history, unfortunately, evidences or facts makes theories of the origins and purposes of sport more and more difficult to support and comprehend. We are still trying to understand whether it actually helped or did not. Some had different purposes. The objectives were to conquer another nation, another territory, another tribal. But some only wanted to defend themselves. As for instance, China. China for many, many years only decided they did not want to invade another country. But what they did, they said, we protect our own interests. And what did they do? They built a fort, the Great Wall. But they made sure that nobody could attack them, because they're not interested in conquering, as in protecting their own interests. They rather conquer via trade. So today when you see China going into trade, it's not a new concept. They have always been doing that. You know, they used to take the big ships and they go around the world, the 7 seas, and they were trading. So they were a great trading power. They were not interested in military conquest and all of that. They were not conquerors. They were not interested. They could if they wanted to, but they didn't. So that's what I'm saying. So it differs the way some of the nations of those times were thinking. That's what we mean by that. So what is the true point of doing sport? Now let's go back to the context of sports. You see, in today's times, the usual answer is that it allows us to escape the drudgery and smallness of normal life and dream to achieve for a bit of greater things and self-achievements besides keeping fit. What's happening outside there on the ring is what we're talking about. Now, sport elevates us and our spirits. What we see is people doing extraordinary, sometimes impossible things for no purposeful reasons. We heard about this guy, this US guy who actually went around Antarctica without any help. And if he had died, nobody would have known. But he did it. And you'll be asking, what is this mad fella coming up with such a thing? You want to go around the ice, there's no people there. What is his objective? But he has a purpose. He had a vision. The man who went up Mount Everest first, he had his reasons. So this is what we're trying to say. They challenge themselves. They try to outdo themselves. The thrill of, like before, if we lose the gold medal, end of the world. Some even commit suicide. Not anymore. You still come back as a hero. We still respect you as a hero because you have gone way beyond, up to a level which nobody has gone. So what if you lose there? But when you are back home, you are a hero because you have become an example, a positive example. And that's the motivation bit. This is where we will be talking about the 21st century. This is the dilemma that we are all going through. You see, traditional and holistic conservatism versus global sports for all, progressionism. What does this mean? This is the dilemma that today our martial arts is facing. Remember, as Asians, we have this, this protectionism. What is mine is mine. I don't want to change. If I silat, I silat. If I'm judo, I'm judo. If I'm karate, so what? I'm taekwondo. But you must understand, it is good up to a point. Because beyond that, it dies off. How many of them will still be a traditional Kung Fu master or a Kung Fu practitioner and they don't know anything about karate, they don't know anything about judo, they do not know anything about Muay Thai, Kalaripayat, and the likes. So what we are trying to do in the 21st century is to evolve. We need to evolve. I'll be talking quite a bit about this, but let me just give you the context. Traditional and holistic conservatism, please keep this in mind, versus global sports for all progressionism. The dilemma of changing, the dilemma of expanding. That's very important. Now let me give you a few slides to show you what I'm talking about. This, on your left of the screen, is the traditional way squash is played. It is played in a cubicle. Hardly a few hundred people can see this. If squash had been where it was, it would have died long time ago. Look on the right, when they decided to evolve. Now they play in a complex where the audience have increased and it's become commercial. Squash today is not an Olympic sport. Why? Although squash is played quite widely in some parts of the world, but it's not popular enough to be included in the Olympics. Nicole David, 9 times, 8 times world champion. She never got a chance to compete in the Olympics. Why? Because of this. Sports evolves. If you don't grow with that, die the sport, you also die. Let's take another. Football. On your left is the traditional way it's played in a huge field, 11 players. Suddenly, they decided to expand it further. They got in futsal, and they also managed to bring in and attract even girls. So you don't need a full field to play with 11 players, but now you can play futsal, and it's become so important that it may also be an Olympic sport, if it's not already. Popularity, evolving of sports. If we are not ready for changes, there's no way we can expand or your sport will die with you. And finally, one more slide. Popularly played on the courts, basketball, that only that many people can be the audience. Because the higher terrace you put, they can't see. They don't know who is throwing in which basket. What they do, they go to the people. 3-on-3. It was first a joke, fun for children, but now it's such a serious thing that sponsors are willing to throw money, mileage, eyeballs. For a sport to endure, to thrive, and to continue its existence, you need sponsorship. You need audience. Sponsors will only come and sponsor you if they see people. Case in point, football in Malaysia. We were just talking about football just now. Number in the ranking in the world, we are 170, 160. But the number one sport in Malaysia, football. Sponsors throw money. Out of the 10 top earning sports people in Malaysia, antara 10 teratas, 6 of them are footballers. What a joke. 60% of the top 10 are footballers. It's a joke when you look at it because you see the Chinese have forgotten that football can make money. First question, can make money or not? Good or not for future? They don't know that some of them are millionaires. And playing chapalang football. Forgive me for my language, but that's what is happening. Look at our ranking. In the 70s, 60s, Korea, Japan were scared of us. Now they laugh at us because they consider us third division or small boys. Because they can sweep us. They got no time to play with us. They send their second or third team. Even they also will be struggling to beat them. But that's not the issue here. I'm talking about sponsorship. Millions of dollars are pumped into football. Never mind, we are not doing well. Why? Sponsors are not interested in how popular the sport is, but whether it reaches the public. Eyeballs. Media looks at football. Astro pays all. You see, I'm sure you all are, for sports enthusiasts who like football, almost 65% of your monthly fees goes for sports. the sports package. Just because we want to see English Premier League. I ask you about English Premier League, the players, the team manager, the stats and all of that, you will know close eyes. They don't know us, but we know everything about them. Ask about national football, but the team's still playing. Where did they win? Now they're only talking about regional, AFF. Win got holiday in Malaysia. That's the sad situation we are in. So what we aim to do, I'm not belittling anybody here. I'm just talking about how the perception of people are, how the perception of sponsors are. In order for us to grow, some of y'all are gym owners, some of y'all are intending to see whether there's money to be made here. On top of doing service, this is the time for you to open your eyes. Now let's talk about this particular thing. I'll put this video, y'all have a look at it first, and then let's see if it makes sense to you. Again, the sound system is not on. Please take a good look. Don't just look at the aesthetics of it, the objectives of this whole thing. That's what I want you to know. Okay, next please. Thank you. Before y'all start having your ideas and creating your questions or devising what is this whole thing all about, I would like to touch on a few things. First thing is the principles of sports and entertainment marketing. What we saw just now was the Americans who have picked up these traditional sports. They have amalgamated the whole thing, made it into a solid entertainment base. Now, I may not be a martial arts enthusiast, but after seeing this, I want to do something. I don't care what. Whether it's the nunchuk, or whether it's going to be the broadswords, or whether it's going to be the long sticks, anything, because I want to be part of this. That is how you sell. Kobe beef is one of the best beef in the world. But why is it that when you sell, the American steak is always sells more than the Kobe beef? It's the sizzle, not the steak. Americans know how to sell a product. Most of it are traditional, but now it'll become a global attraction because the Americans have marketed it. It belongs to us, this part of the world. But look who has become the ownership to actually create the magic. It's the Americans. Look at ESPN, you saw the global audience. Through ESPN, it reaches the whole world. Promotions of it is what we are talking about in the 21st century. Evolving sports. These are the principles that you all need to know. Understanding your sport and the event. Because if you don't understand your sport, neither your event, you cannot do anything with it. It dies with you. It doesn't. So you are not actually doing justice to the sport, because as the Sifu or as the senior exponent, you have not given it a global reach. It's a sin. A big sin. A real big sin. A Sifu who does not impart his knowledge to his proteges is not a good Sifu. Likewise, whoever are proponents of a sport or a discipline should know how to expand it beyond. Otherwise, you are not a good proponent or a not good master in promoting your sport. This goes across board. This is the formula, the basic formula for everything. Yes, we make money to survive. I have coined this proverb, if you may. I'll tell that towards the end. But let me finish this first. Impact on local and global sport communities. Are we doing justice to the place we come from? If we have, very good. Have we expanded it beyond our shores to go to other people's place? The Americans have done that, for God's sake. Sapu. They have encompassed everything with such a short sword. Just like that, they have captured the audience and the mindset of everybody, including the sponsors. They don't need to look for people. The sad situation of the second BMAEX is that we are still struggling to secure sponsors. I came aboard at a very late stage. So I told my friends, Alvin and Chihao, let's see if we can expand it next year, because I need a year to do this. We are not going into the Southeast Asian region. Not an issue. Provided we have the right support, the right guidance, and the right mental attitude. A technical wizard or a technical master does not translate to be a marketing guru. Everything is specialized. You cannot be a jack of all trades. If you are, very good. God bless you. But if you're not, get people who can do it. Get people who can do it, because they need to know how to market their product. That's why you have marketing gurus. People-centric. Remember, I just spoke to you about football, for instance. If you do not have the eyeballs, you do not have the fans, you do not have a die-hard supporters, never mind if they are not practitioners of the sport, but they love to back you up. You need that. How many of us have actually looked at that, whether the people like what we are doing, or are we trying to give them and stuffing it to them and say, hey, take. Remember, a very crucial principle. Don't give somebody anything that you think they need. You give them what they want, because they know what they want. We are not the experts. We can't read people's minds. So when you guys are sitting here, I cannot be giving you thinking, oh, you need this, you need this. It doesn't work that way. It is what we feel that you want, or we ask you what you want. We give you that. Moving on. Once you have understood the first three, then you start devising your marketing strategies. And then also you have to make it according to the taste of the audience. Very few of us actually take the time to sit down and understand this. Unless you are a marketing person, no way you'll understand this. Because what we will think, we give, they take lah. We know better. We don't know better. In fact, we are zero. I won't know what's in your mind. If you don't like the thing, why should you take it from me? You just listen, talk. It'll end up just like that. Event promotion. We just saw how they promoted the event. It was like a Hollywood presentation. And you see how the synchronization of the techniques that was brought in. It made us feel, wow, really good. Goosebumps. This is what I'm talking about. We are in no way inferior to the West. It is our small thinkingness that is what is actually preventing us from creating magic. Finally, product and event delivery. If the product or the event is not delivered properly and professionally, forget about next year. Labuan needs this. You have a good spot. If you can support, go all the way. You will definitely get something. Then everyone will come end of the year to Labuan. The prospects of tourism, sports tourism will be achieved. The number of tourists will increase. The number of people who want to stay fit in Labuan will increase. Everyone will respect the organizers here and the authorities. So there are spin-offs. If we are not going to be the main organizers, tak apa. We can control and do other things. We can actually increase our economy, businesses, products. So I really hope the sponsors and also all the authorities, Labuan Corporation, TDC, will look at this and look at it right. Pulau Labuan is part of the federal territories, Wilayah Persekutuan. You have the equal rights of Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya. But if forever you are going to just think like anak tiri, itulah level you. Start demanding, but before you demand, make sure you have the product. This is one of the products. Everybody can benefit, I'm sure. I've come towards my tail end because we have other speakers. So, in conclusion, contact sports is pervasive throughout all, from dulu-dulu, ancient, and through our modern cultures. Its legacies form a critical part of our understanding of what we hold in common, our cultural heritage. Everybody wants to preserve their cultural heritage. Alvin always talks about this, the founder, because we want to keep apa yang kita dapat, that turun-temurun, is there. Our belief and how we connect to our history. History can come in many forms. It could be our own cultural links, our religious beliefs, our national beliefs, and our Asian values before we go global. So there are many levels. Okay? From past, from present, and future. Thank you.
I've been waiting for that.
Success achieved for oneself lasts one lifetime. Success achieved for others lasts many lifetimes.